Is it even something that's biblical? Is it a biblical concept when it comes to, ministry? Or are we looking at this through the wrong lens? If you've ever wrestled through questions like these, then this episode's for you.
Hey, Pastor, have you ever gotten to your office on a Monday and revised your resume? Have you ever browsed the job ads at ministryjobs.com and found yourself envisioning your life at that large church in Florida? Do you find yourself sometimes dreaming about just stacking lumber at Home Depot? Leadership doesn't have to be that way, and I want to walk you down the pathway to healthy, vibrant leadership, taking your Monday into an eager, energized, and abundant lifestyle. My name is Kevin, veteran pastor with nearly 20 years of full-time ministry and leadership experience. I've walked through the tensions of trauma and drama that can come as a minefield of stress and anxiety to every pastor. Together, we're going to learn the simplicity of leadership that breathes life to you rather than consume everything from you, in simple strategic steps leading you to clarity, creativity, and a little bit of cash flow. Growth is possible, and it's inside your reach. Now, grab your notebook and let's dig into it.
Hey, Pastor, have you ever felt like your church is stuck? Like no matter what you try, your congregation just isn't engaging the way that you know they could? What if I told you there was a way to reignite that fire, inspire your people, and make more disciples than ever before? I am thrilled to invite you to the Make More Disciples Challenge, a 5-day experience designed to help you break your church out of its indifference coma. Over 5 powerful lessons, I'll give you the tools you need to discover what's holding your church back, reignite that passion in your members, and build a culture of discipleship that changes lives. This is more than a challenge. It's a step toward transforming your church into a vibrant, mission-driven community. The Make More Disciples Challenge starts soon, so don't wait. Head over to my website, pastorsthriving.com, sign up today, and join me for this life-changing journey. Now, let's get back to our regularly scheduled podcast. Hey, welcome back to Pastors Thriving, strategies for lead pastors towards growth in money and ministry. I'm your host, Kevin, and today we're going to tackle a topic that stirs up a little bit of debate. Success in the church. Does it even exist? This kind of stemmed from a recent conversation that I had with someone, and they literally told me, you know what? I don't believe in the term success in relation to the church specifically. And that really got me thinking, should pastors be striving for success? Then this episode's for you. Hey, so let's start with the tension around this word success. Why is success, such a controversial word or topic when it comes to church leadership? A lot of pastors push back on this idea because they see through the lens of, quote unquote, the world's definition of success, numbers, buildings, influence. But ultimately, here's the truth. Avoiding the word success doesn't make the need for effectiveness disappear. Ultimately, we're called to steward well. Jesus spoke about fruitfulness, and the Bible repeatedly references growth and impact. So the question isn't, should we measure success, but it's how do we do it from a biblical narrative that is actually appropriate? I fully believe in the term success. In fact, I have to look at things from a standpoint of profit and failure and success and not success, right? I always tell people, especially, when I'm diving into like a coaching relationship or a coaching conversation with someone, that there are specific words in our language and in our pursuit that warrant or demand your own definition. And success is one of those terms. Why? Because success for you might not be what success for me. And one of the other ones is desire. We look at desire. I use Psalm 37:4 all the time. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Well, what is desire for you may not be desire for me. You can also you could also look at this as far as the term failure. What failure is to you may not be failure for me. And so success demands us defining or using a definition. And so we got to start from defining this on any level, but ultimately, from a kingdom's perspective. When you talk about this from outside the church, It seems to be all about size, influence, financial growth, and those things are really smart. When you sit down with businesses, they're going to be all about like what are the KPIs and what are the metric indicators. I'm doing a lot of work with marketing right now, and so they're always talking about CPCs, what's the cost per click, or the ROAS, I believe, return on ad spend, and so all of that are signs of metric, whether it's something that's successful or not. And I think there's a key here, a crucial key that we need to learn when it comes to the health and vitality or the forward motion of us as church. Because the church doesn't really have a good quantifier or indicator to tell us whether something is successfully advancing or whether it's unsuccessfully retracting. We tend to look at this and say, were there as many people there as there were last week, or were as there were last year? And typically, if there's not like an additional growth, or if there's not an additional shrink, then we're like, you know what, it is what it is. We're fine where we're at right now. But that's not a good indicator of success. So let's look at this from a biblical angle. Biblical success really all about faithfulness. It's about discipleship and it's about impact. You can look at this measured through spiritual transformation. I love this one, but leadership development and community change. I had an interview back in episode 2.16 a while back after I went through my whole brand rechange. I had an interview with Carl Vaders, and it was a phenomenal interview. Carl Vaders is like the small church guru when it comes to church growth. He's got a super unique perspective on this, and I'll make sure to link that show in the notes below so you have quick access to it. But he really talked about healthy church metrics when it comes to growth. I love his story. You listen to his story on your time, but the idea is this: if you're a church that is expanding but never sending, or increasing seating capacity but only ever hiring staff, you may want to take a good long look at your view of success. I remember recently, well, actually years ago, we did a study on J.D. Greer and his book, Gaining by Losing, and you need to read this book. It is phenomenal. His tagline, the book is Gaining by Losing, and then the tagline, Why the Future Belongs to Churches That Send. It is a phenomenal book. And one of the statements in that is that church success should be measured by sending capacity more than seating capacity. That's a direct quote. I believe it's on page 16 of his book. But what a phenomenal idea to be able to quantify how healthy our churches are or are becoming. I think there's this phenomena that's happening right now that's in terms of, I was joking with my wife the other day. I'm sorry, I just broke a sentence, but that's in terms of, a lot of financial movement and staff growth and those kind of things. And those are the metrics that we put out at the end of the year or the beginning of the year, whatever you look at. But I joked with my wife. I was like, it seems like it's all about how large your LED wall is, because you're seeing that big phenomena that's happening inside of churches today. Is there anything wrong with that LED wall? No. But there is a hungry, hurting world out there that desperately needs some effect, and I think that we need to have an impact on these kind of things, a significant and a profound one. Jesus preached to thousands, but his focus was always on discipling just a few, and I love this, and it's really like the core heart of my Make More Disciples challenge. But we've got to be able to investigate the point that while Jesus always was speaking to great crowds of people, his predominant heart focus was on, 12 disciples. And then you can even see breakdown from there. He had 3 disciples that were like the inner 3, right? The early church in Acts saw a phenomenal numerical growth but it was driven by, honestly, at one point, it was driven by numbers. It was driven by interconnection, and problems happened when that core nucleus, when it got too big. You see breakdown begin to happen and trouble happens and people are mad and there's some animosity that's taking place. And it wasn't until structure came in, systems were integrated, and then the church is driven by depth. People were being discipled, they're living generously, and they're dynamically impacting their communities. So, should we strive for growth? 100%, but not at the expense of faithfulness, right? And so I want to give you some practical things here. Simple, simple, shotgun approach. We're just going to hit this quick fashion, but what's a healthy versus an unhealthy way to measure success? Well, some unhealthy metrics in measuring success is just about attendance alone, with assessing spiritual growth. Seeing financial growth as a primary tool of effectiveness is a problem. I think we can all agree with that. And one of the most powerful ones I can see is prioritizing or emphasizing programs over people and their discipleship journey. This is a problem. I detest even the word program, and I think maybe you can resonate with that also. We've got to get away from that idea of programmatic structure. All right, so what are some healthy metrics when it comes to the term or idea of success, right? How about the depth of discipleship? Are people growing in their faith, and are they expressing it? That is such a huge metric. And there's got to be a healthy way for us to measure this. In fact, I'm going to make that my mission. I'm going to develop a tool. To be able to measure discipleship effectiveness. We're going to figure this out. I love this one. I've already told you this. Leadership development. Are we raising up more leaders and not just filling seats? One of my favorite things that I ever did in my context as a pastor was I took my leader team through a leadership development course, and it was like mind-blowing to them. It's like, we've never seen anything like this before. Listen, reach out to me. I can give you some really, really salient, practical resources for you to use when it comes to developing your people, especially in the context of church. So hit me up for that. I'll help you out. Community impact. Is our church making a tangible difference beyond our walls? And I think you can see and understand how impactful that might be. How about spiritual maturity? Are lives being transformed through the gospel? How would you know that? Well, I mean, I think you would know that by a couple things. I think you can always know that by people who identify with salvation. I think you can identify that with people who are like baptism. And then what about the more intense practical things that are happening in their lives? So let's gauge some spiritual maturity. Growth isn't wrong. In fact, growth is really, really a powerful, good thing. It's what we're growing toward that really is important. So, all right, last thing here. How can pastors pursue success without burnout? I like this. How do we become healthy success without burning out? We're going to redefine success to focus on faithfulness over results. And really, pastor, you should not be on the verge of burnout on any level. This is going to hurt you. I'm going to sting you a little bit, but if you're burning out, it's because you're leading wrong. It's because you're doing this in an unhealthy manner. Nothing that Jesus did burned him out. It resulted in death, but that was the point, wasn't it? And so we've got to figure out, how do we get to the spot of healthiness instead of overwhelm and burnout? We're going to celebrate small wins. If one person was baptized, man, that's a win. If one leader steps up, that's a win. We've got to celebrate small wins inside of a church. I'm getting ready to release a new course right now. It's called 7 Steps to Ignite Engagement Inside of Your Church this week. And we deal with a lot of these things. Celebrate small wins. That's one of the most important things, because we've got to be able to talk about the stories or the movement that takes place in the lives of these people. How about stop comparing your ministry to others? That's such a toxic mentality that happens. And I know that you're not guilty of this kind of thing, but I struggled with it from time to time. And I always, it's just a thing. Let's be careful about that. Success isn't about, we're growing the church down the street. It's about fulfilling your unique calling. Comparison, I want you to know this. Comparison is a scarcity mentality. When you compare, it's literally you saying, I don't think there's enough for both of us, and I want to have more. And so that's a scarcity mentality. You got to get rid of that thinking right now. How about balanced strategy with surrender? Yes, let's plan and lead well, but ultimately trust that God is going to bring the increase. We are called to be faithful, not famous. Love that. Success should never be an idol. It should be a reflection of obedience to God's calling. So, does success exist in our church today? Man, 100%, absolutely. But it looks different than the world's definition or than the definition out there. Success is not ever all about the numbers, but it is about the numbers. In fact, one of the classes that I teach, one of the sessions I teach in my Make More Disciples masterclass, not the challenge, but I have a mastery level of the Make More Disciples challenge, Make More Disciples mastery level. I call it that. We talk about that in that fact in there, that it is all about the numbers. So how do we quantify it? But it is about faithfulness, discipleship, and kingdom impact. And now I want to hear from you. How do you define success? How do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? On what points? Let's continue this conversation inside of my Pastors Thriving Facebook group. Head on over there. We'll dialogue through this a little bit more. But listen, do you want a blueprint for discipling more effectively? I want you to know this right now. Today is March 11th. You're listening to this as it is being released on March 24th. My Make More Disciples Challenge has its next course lineup, and I already have people joining it. So I feel like you're missing. You're not there. You should be there. Let's get that set up right now. Get you involved in it. Join my Make More Disciples Challenge now. Hit me up on email. I don't quite have the funnel fully formed for that yet. So hit me up on email. My email is in the show notes. I will get you in it. I will help you develop clear, practical discipleship model for your church. You can sign up for that today. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, keep thriving, pastors. Your kingdom needs you at your best, my friend. Let me know how I can help. I pray for you. Bless you. Hope you're having a great day. We'll talk soon. Hey, thanks for tuning in today to Pastors Thriving Podcast. If you found today's episode helpful, I'd love for you to just take a minute and leave a review and maybe a few stars on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback really helps me to grow this community and to reach even more pastors just like you. And listen, if you're ready to take the next step, check out one of my upcoming courses designed to help you thrive in ministry and life. For more details or to connect directly with me, you can send me an email at coaching@kevinelworth.live or visit my website, pastorsthriving.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.